And let's open up in a word of prayer. Jonah, do you want to open us up in a word of prayer?
Yeah, I'd love to. Dear Father God, Lord, we thank you for this day that you've given us. Lord, thank you for the air to breathe, Lord, the breath in our lungs. God, just all grace, Lord, that you've given us. God, we thank you for who you are. We praise you, Lord, for who you are. God, you are mighty. You are all powerful. Lord, you are infinite, eternal, in holiness. God, we just want to praise you, Lord, and every morning, God, give you the praise, the focus, the worship, and to honor you, Lord. And I just pray over this class, God, that we would honor you with it, that we would do all things, Lord, for your glory, including learning Greek. And Lord, help us to learn it, Lord, help us to learn it well, that we may be approved workmen, Lord, rightly dividing the word of truth. Again, Lord, for your glory. Lord, thank you. Thank you for this class, Lord. Thank you for JP being willing to teach it. And Lord, may you just bless it. And those who aren't able to make it, Lord, may they still watch the video and learn and be a part of it, Lord, if it's your will. And Lord, we just thank you. Praise you. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thanks, Jonah. All right. So I'm guessing most of you don't have a printed copy of the syllabus. If you have it on a phone, you can pull it up, but you don't really need it. I'm just going to kind of walk through what's in it, and you can look at it later. But basically, just want to kind of point out a couple of items in here, right? This is a Greek class. Everybody knows that. But I want to talk a little bit about like kind of what some of the objectives are. What is our goal in this class? There's 6 learning objectives defined here, and they're pretty straightforward. They won't necessarily mean a whole lot to you right now, but just to kind of give you a telos of where we're going. You want to be able to, by the end of this class, define all the words that occur 50 times or more in the Greek New Testament. So the vocabulary in your textbook is very intentional, and it's trying to get at the most commonly occurring words in the New Testament. And the thought process behind that is, when you drop into a passage of scripture in Greek, you'll know most of the words. That's the idea. You will probably have to do things like look them up. There's over 5,000 unique vocabulary words in the Greek New Testament. This textbook does not cover, I don't even think it gets to 1,000, right? But a lot of the same words are used over and over and over again. There's some books like Revelation that have a ton of words that only occur one time in the Greek New Testament, which makes it kind of challenging. So you'll be able to do that by the end of this. The other thing is write out all the memory paradigms covered in the text. So you'll see what those are. They'll be identified in the textbook and in the lectures. And there'll be a lot of deliberate memorization in this class. There is no shortchanging it. There is no secret sauce to avoid memorizing these things that I'm aware of. So you will have to become one with the memory. Other things, you'll be able to parse various parts of speech, verbs, nouns, adjectives, participles. So if grammar is not your strong suit, by the end of this class, it will be. I was terrible at English grammar. I took Greek, and I learned more about English taking Greek than I had ever learned in English class. So, because you just learn to think grammatically. So that'll be another helpful thing. You'll also be able to translate all the selections of the Greek New Testament. So our textbook, all the homework translations come straight from the Bible. So you will be very early in this process reading scripture. Very exciting. Other things, you'll be able to practice concepts discussed in class and covered in textbook. So this is not going to make you Greek scholars, this class. This is going to introduce you. It's doing exactly what the textbook says. It's beginning with New Testament Greek. This will give you the ability to continue practicing and developing your Greek over time. And then, of course, pass the standardized final exam. That'll be the big test. How'd you do? The final will reveal everything. It will reveal all things. And then textbooks, you guys already know. That sounds like John, but I recognize that man's energy. We need some Labrador energy this morning. He's got some.
We're all tired.
Yeah, we're all tired. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. It's cold. There's snow everywhere. Oh man, we'll see if I can get my car out when it's time to go. Ford Focuses were not meant for parking lots with this much snow. But yeah, we got 2 textbooks, and I brought both of mine for a little show. Good morning.
Morning.
John, how are you?
Morning.
How are
This
you?
is Brittany's dad, Dennis.
Oh, nice to meet you, Dennis.
How you doing?
Is anybody sitting right here, Donna?
No.
You are, if you want to.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, you came just the right time. We got started. We're talking a little bit about the syllabus for this class. And we haven't covered anything super essential yet, so I was going to start talking about textbooks and what they are and why we have them. So we've got 2 books in this class, and so it's Dennis, right?
Yeah, Dennis.
Okay, I am JT.
Dennis
and
Mills. All right.
I will try to remember if I forget.
That's all right. Just ask if you forget.
Okay, so we got 2 textbooks in this class, one of which is indispensable, and that is this book. If you do not do what is in this book, you will not learn Greek. End of story. Full stop. This, Greek for Life, is really a book on kind of like how to study Greek and how to retain it over the years. It's a really helpful book. The same professor who wrote our textbook, Dr. Rob Plummer, also wrote this. And Dr. Plummer is the man who taught me Greek, and he's also the man that taught Pastor Charles Greek. And he's a professor of Greek at Southern Baptist Theological Seminary. So it's really good stuff. And Dr. Plummer may even join us via Zoom every once in a while. He has graciously offered to do that. And so there may be some chances in our studies where we could pull him in and you could just hit him with all your hardest Greek questions. And you could be like, wow, what an upgrade over JP. Holy
You're bringing
cow.
in celebrity guest stars,
I
man?
know. When you go to Southern, you get to meet all the cool guys.
That's what's up.
Okay, some more details. So one of the things I want to point out before I start talking about assignments and quizzes and grades and all that jazz, I've said this before, I'll say it again. This is not a class for any kind of real credit or certification. So the grades here, do not be alarmed. These are just for me to measure how everyone is doing. And it's to give you objective feedback. It's also to provide a little bit of accountability. A quiz every week will at least put some pressure on people to get it done. But I will tell you, you are getting this the easy way. I had to go through this entire textbook in 1 semester, in 14 weeks. We are doing it in 24 weeks, potentially longer. We will go at the speed we need to go. So this will be, there are some parts of Greek that are just pure suffering, and that is just memorizing lots of stuff, and there's just no 2 ways about it. And the thing is, though, once you're done with that part, then the fun stuff begins. Getting better at Greek will just involve reading. Much more fun that way. So let's talk a little bit about how this thing is structured then. So we've got 4 sources of points in this class: quizzes, homework, class participation, and a final. With the exception of poor Zarek, who has to take a midterm because he's doing this for actual homeschool credit, so in the state of Utah. So best of luck, Zarek. I will make sure that you have all the tools you need to succeed, though. Quizzes account for, so there's a total of 500 points in the class. Quizzes account for 200. Homework is 100, class participation is 100, the final is 100 points. So the final is 20% of your grade, so it's pretty big. As far as quizzes go, every Saturday morning after this, the first thing we will do together in class is a quiz. And then we will grade it together, and then we will go over it together. So if you're like, I don't understand this, great, ask me, and then we will take to the board, and we will learn all about it. On the quizzes is where you'll report your homework results. So homework, you get 100% credit just for doing it. I don't care how you did it, other than just I want you to do well. So what I expect with the homework is in the chapter, at the end of every chapter, there will be a homework section. And at the end of the book, there's an answer key for all the exercises. So I strongly suggest you do the homework, then go to the answer key and correct your work and identify, hey, this is what I did well, this is what I did poorly, this is what I need to work on. And come to class with questions, right? So the primary learning in this class is going to take place through reading a textbook and watching the video lectures I keep talking about. I am not going to do that much classroom teaching. I am capable of it, but in seminary, if you did this class and we were lecturing in class, we would probably need to meet multiple times a week. It's much better if you just watch the video lecture and do it that way, and I help support you. I think that will be a much better model. It's what Southern did for its evening classes for Greek. And the videos, the lecture videos you are getting, are the exact same videos that seminary students get. Dr. Plummer, I took Greek with him, and I had to use those videos, and then it's the same videos. So you are getting the same curriculum that a grad student is going to get.
Another freebie.
Yeah, so Dr. Plummer is so very gracious. And so is the publisher. B&H Publishing has made a ton of resources available for free and stuff like that, so that's going to be good. With the homework, there are going to be some sections that require you to translate from English to Greek. You don't have to do those. You can mark it complete if you don't do those. But if you do them, I'll give you extra credit on the quiz. So, and they're beneficial to you as well. So I think it's worth doing. I did them all when I did the homework. So I think that's worth your time. And then class participation, I'm not going to be a Nazi about this. There's no attendance. No, I'm not taking attendance for anybody. You should be here if you can make it. But remember, the learning is going to be done via the lecture and the textbook. So if you couldn't make it for a couple of weeks, just keep at it. Just keep at it, because you will actually be able to stay on top of it with your Greek that way. You'll miss obviously the quizzes, but again, this is not a class for all the peanuts. If you really feel passionately about taking the quiz and you miss it, I can email you the quiz and send you the answer key. And if you cheat, then if you ask to take the quiz remotely and then you still cheat,
Right.
you're not going to fail or anything. There's no credit. I might think that you're really silly. I might be like, "What's wrong with you?" But you're not going to get in trouble for that kind of thing. So. But I'd be happy to arrange that. I think it's a good idea. If you can't make it for me to send you the quiz and you just do it, I'd probably have you send me a picture of the completed quiz, because what we'll do is we'll do them, we'll grade them in class, you'll hand them in to me, I'll put them into a great big spreadsheet where I'm keeping track of everybody's grades. That way I can be like, here's how you're doing. And so that'll be very beneficial to you to do that. And then the participation, I just want to see that you're really making an effort. So one of the things we'll do in class is we'll do lots of reviews. So the quizzes will take 10 to 15 minutes tops when we get together. I don't anticipate it taking very long. Then afterwards, we'll go over any questions you had from the homework and from the quiz. And then I will bring additional examples of sentences, words, that sort of thing, additional challenges. And I'll be like, hey, you parse this word, tell me what it is. You know, and volunteers will not get called on as much. And people who do not volunteer will get called on.
Okay.
Because
It's the second part that made it make sense.
yeah. Because I want people to participate, and that's actually one of the benefits. Doing this together will be one of those things that will be beneficial to us. And so I'm just looking that you care with class participation. You're starting at 100%. You know, if you sit in the back of the room asleep or on Facebook the entire time, that might cause your participation grade to go down. But hey, it's not like this is a real class. So if you want to waste your time by coming here in the bitter cold in the morning at 8 o'clock, and you want to sit there and be on Instagram, be my guest.
We almost died to get here, so.
Yeah, it's like, let's learn some Greek.
Yeah, I'm all in, bro.
Yeah, it's like, it was a near-death experience. I had to get a Maverick burrito. I mean, it was all challenges all the way down. The Maverick burrito was probably.
We might not get out of here, yeah.
That's how I feel too. When I saw Jonah out there at the show, I'm like, oh, maybe the deacons are here clearing the parking lot. No, it was just Jonah. It was just Jonah. Thank God for Jonah, but he's no match for the whole parking lot.
Sorry.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, it's like.
We need to leave before you do, just in case.
Yeah, I could tow you my truck.
I was gonna say probably there's a non-zero chance. On the way home from work on Thursday, I got stuck 4 times in the snow. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Ford Focus is not meant for snow. They're just not. Okay, so final exam will be cumulative, FYI. So come prepared for everything. So, and if you want to take a midterm, if you want to take the same midterm I give Zarek, if you're like, I would love that, by all means, I'd be happy to make that a reality for you.
I want to take it, yeah.
You do?
I want to see where I stand after it's all done.
Amen. Okay, I like that, John. I knew you were going to bring some much needed energy to this class. I can
Yeah,
feel
man.
it in my heart. All right.
I want this class for a purpose. I want to be able to use it.
Yeah, amen. That's what everybody should want. Like, the whole point is to be able to read the Bible in the language that God gave it to us in.
Yeah.
He didn't give it to us in English. He gave it to us in Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek. And Greek is the stepping stone for the other 2 languages. So, someday, if this all works out well, we may do Hebrew here.
I would take that one too.
So, Hebrew.
I tried on the Duo app,
No,
and it was rough, man.
You're not
because-
learning the right Hebrew if you do that anyway. You're learning modern Hebrew. You learn
Oh.
biblical Hebrew. No, they're not all that different, but they're different enough. Although I've been told you could learn to speak modern Hebrew and then kind of work your way back to ancient Hebrew. So if that's your bag, by all means.
Is it a similar situation to Greek and Koine Greek?
Yeah.
It's not used anymore, but now
It's a less dramatic difference than Greek and Koine Greek, because when they resurrected Hebrew in Israel, that's the Hebrew they're trying to bring back. But okay, so that's basically there are 5 grades you can get in this class. I'm very unimaginative: A, B, C, D, and F. They're self-explanatory. Don't get an F. But if you get an F, I actually would encourage you, keep at it even if you're failing, because you can still learn Greek. Like, I've known guys at seminary who bombed. They failed their first go around with Greek or Hebrew, and they just kept at it, and they ended up getting pretty decent. So you may struggle to learn it, but guess what? You already know how to read. So you've already got that part down. You just need to actually get the language into you. So don't worry. Don't worry about that. So that's kind of the main part there. Let's talk some logistics in this class. So on the syllabus, I'm gonna send out an updated syllabus because unbeknownst to me, the pastors changed my classroom without telling me. So I was in class 205. I come in this morning and it's like, now I'm in class 204. I got an upgrade. I got a bigger room. But the syllabus says class 205, so we're going to change that. And then we may also talk about meeting locations and times, because I don't know about you guys, but I find it pretty cold in here. And so it is possible we can meet other places or at different times. This is not an official seminary class, right? We can kind of do what we want to. So we might talk about that in a minute. Two really important pieces of information is Discord. Discord is an application. You can get it on desktop. You can get it on any kind of smartphone device. And it is meant for video games, actually, but you can use it for all sorts of other things. And I have created what is called a server. And in a server, you will find channels. There are two kinds of channels, text channels and video channels. Voice channels, right? And what Discord enables you to do is, for me, it's really going to serve as like home base for all this. If you've taken some courses from Weber or something else, or some college courses, you know they have Canvas, that sort of thing. This will be like Canvas for us. So I have sent out an invitation link via email for people to join the Discord. I'm happy to send it again. You may have to make an account and join. And I will be posting things there like resources for you for Greek. That's where a lot of things are there that I've already posted and pinned. It would also be a great place to ask me questions. Or if you have found something cool, a Greek resource, you can post it there for everybody else to see. It also, if you want to attend but you cannot make it, say for example, you wake up and you're under a foot of snow. You're like, I really want to do Greek, but I do not want to dig all this snow out. You could hop on Discord, just let me know you're doing it. I can hop on Discord and I can live stream to you from the classroom and you can attend virtually. That's one of the advantages of the COVID era is that we learned that we can do that. And if somebody got COVID, I suppose, you can do that too. Like, I'm not super scared of it, but I do not like how it makes me feel. So please don't bring it to class. So Discord will be very beneficial for that purpose as well. Next thing is I have a YouTube channel. And don't worry, it's not a fancy YouTube channel. The last thing the world needs is more Christian YouTubers. We have enough, and most of them are terrible. This is really just a place where I post things for people who miss class. That's all it is. So I will be posting, like I'm recording right now. So for the people who couldn't make it today's kind of review meeting, they'll have this lecture available to see.
How do you think that is about the YouTuber? I've noticed that most of the Christian YouTubers are just like, they got like 70% of it, but the 30% they have wrong is very horrible.
Yeah, I have lots of thoughts on that. My primary conviction is that YouTube monetizes everything you say, and as soon as you add compensation to your words, it just does something to the soul. Everything you say now, you're thinking, what do I get out of it? I don't think it's spiritually healthy for anybody to do that. Same thing with like Twitter is the same way. You can monetize your tweets. You can't separate the incentive from participation in the medium, and I think it's extremely dangerous. It's not my insight. A friend of mine from seminary, Samuel James, it's his insight. I think he's right. And he's kind of an expert on these things. He's published with Crossway and stuff. So I just kind of followed his lead there. But in any case, those resources will be available to you. The Daily Dose of Greek lecture videos, which I have also linked to on Discord, I've sent them via email as well. Those will be the class lectures. If you don't watch those, your life will be hard. They're typically 15 to 20 minutes long. So they're not very long, actually. They're not very long. So that's kind of nice. And Dr. Plummer has got everything. He's got all sorts of cool memory devices and things. And I will tell everyone, there are silly songs and memory devices that he uses to help you memorize Greek. Humble yourselves and learn the silly songs. Do not be proud. Do not be foolish. Use the silly memory devices. I still remember them. Charles introduced me to one 8 years ago, and I still remember it. 8 years later, I've been studying Greek for a long time. These memory devices will make your suffering less severe. Trust me. With Hebrew, there's been a lot less work on memory devices, and it shows. Most Hebrew professors are steely-eyed muscle men, so to speak. Not physically necessarily, but in their disposition. And they'll crush you. The Greek professors are nice and loving. The Hebrew professors are that way because you have to be that way to teach Hebrew. It's not because they're not nice guys. It's just, it's like learning a language from another planet. Like, it's not like, Greek is familiar. It's like meeting your cousin, you know what I mean? It's like, well, we're related, you know, I got some, learning Hebrew, it's like a UFO just flew by and beamed somebody down, and you're like, what are all these noises? Like, what is this? Oh, they don't even have vowels. So
You don't have vowels?
they do. They just don't write them as part of the alphabet. Except in the Masoretic text, they indicate them. You'll find out someday, John.
Right?
So those are some of the logistical considerations. As far as like meeting times and places, it looks like 8 a.m. largely works for most people. I have to work around the church calendar, and there's always something going on every day. And weeknights seem to be impossible for everybody. It's like some people are at Awanas, some people are at worship practice. Now I might be at men's ministry. I know for the three of us, that's pretty likely. Things of that nature. So there's just not. So early morning before church is an option I considered at like 7 a.m., which sounds terrible, but like we could do that. After church is an option for some people, maybe. So just something to keep in mind if you have a preferred day or time, like this would be a decent time to go over it. Locations, if we don't meet here, I was thinking we could probably grab a place like Scooters Coffee down in Riverdale, because importantly the heat's on there.
There's a booths and stuff.
They have booths. They have a little conference room type deal. Alternatively, I could see if one of the local libraries would let us rent out a conference room. They usually do that for free if you ask for it in advance. So there's definitely options we can pursue as far as that's concerned, because it's cold.
Yeah.
And it's a good thing it's somebody who had a key who was here, because Nola was our one with a key. Jonah, are you the one with the key? Thank God. Thank God for you, Jonah. Because if you hadn't been here, we wouldn't be in here right now. We'd be at Starbucks.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'd be in the parking lot stuck.
Yeah.
Probably that one.
And I'd be like, no Greek, I can't get my car out. Yeah, I'd have been fit to be died.
When I saw your car actually in the parking lot, I questioned him. I was like, should we try it? He said, let's go on an adventure. I said, well, his car made it. Maybe we'll make it.
It was a little dicey.
If the Focus made it, John, you were always going to make it.
Yeah.
If I made it, you could make it. A
That's
bicycle, a Razor scooter could have made it if my car can make it.
I'm like a half a step behind yours with a Hyundai Elantra.
That's true.
Mine's no more powerful than yours.
Okay, so I think I've pretty much covered all the logistical stuff. Does anybody have any questions before we start kind of getting into some more stuff here? We'll talk a little bit about study methods and things, but Ashley and then John.
We probably should add too, the schedule's a little tentative.
Yes, actually, that's a great point. So yeah, the syllabus does contain a schedule, but you can just hang an asterisk next to a lot of this stuff, because like I have two cousins getting married, both in Florida, one in May and one
They're
in
not
June.
each other's cousins, are they?
No, they're brothers.
Okay, you said Florida, both your cousins? Okay.
Don't worry, it's South Florida. It's
Okay.
It's not the
Not
part
the
close to-
Panhandle.
Yeah, not the Panhandle.
Okay.
And then Ashley's graduating in May, so like there's a good chance I'll be living on an airplane in May, or I may tell my cousins, you're out of luck, I'm not coming. So we'll see what happens. But I kind of built that in there, so you may get some weeks of like, blessed peace, where you don't have to learn any extra Greek.
Or didn't Charles say he could sub if necessary too?
Yeah, Pastor Charles thinly veiling his excitement about the prospect of being a substitute teacher. He keeps offering over and over again. I'm like, Charles, just come out and say that you want to help him. just say it. Look, I won't judge you. But yeah, so you can see in there too. Another thing is like each week, right, will consist of pretty much the same thing. You will come to class. We will review what we covered last time. You will go home, read the textbook, watch the lecture, complete the homework, show up. For the first 8 weeks, you'll also be reading a little bit of Greek for life. And like, that's not the law of the Medes and the Persians, right? As long as you read this before we're done, I don't really care. So if you're just like 1 week, you're like, nope, don't feel like it, that's okay. This book is to help you retain your Greek. This is to help you prepare and study Greek. But this is not essential, right? Dr. Plummer would break this up throughout the semester. You'd have to read a couple of chapters up front, have it at the end. As long as you read that first chapter, followed by, I think the first and second chapters are probably the most important to read early on, just because they'll have some helpful resources in there. But I say like, these are brief chapters. You don't have to memorize anything in there. You're like, this is the part of Greek I like, or there's no pain and sadness.
I just finished Isaiah, Jeremiah, and I'm in Ezekiel. This is going to be easy, man.
You think that?
Whoa.
We shall see, Mr. Terrell. Okay, but then what was your question?
I'm not a school person, never was. I forgot that you need notebooks for school, though. Am I going to need something to write on today?
That would be beneficial if you had something. If we have extra time,
I can give you like a paper.
I might try to
I would
cover.
appreciate that.
I have an extra pen too.
Yeah, if you have a pen or a pencil, we might spend some time just scribbling around with the Greek alphabet today. But that actually brings me to a really important point, and that is, okay, I already covered Discord. Let's talk about how to study and work here. I think that that's going to be pretty helpful. So one of the things I want to mention is how should you structure your study weeks, right? So we've got obviously the textbook, and it's got homework in it. We've got the quizzes in class, and we've got lectures. I'm going to give you a suggestion on how to study, but ultimately, you do what works for you, right? This is just what JP did. So to give you a little bit of my full background in Greek, before I went to seminary, I actually taught myself Greek. Dr. Plummer had a previous version of his Daily Dose of Greek lectures, keyed to a different textbook before he wrote his own. I worked through all of those. And so I showed up on campus at seminary knowing Greek already, studying on my own with no help. So what we're doing today is very possible. And you guys have a support group. You have each other, right? You actually can work together and do that. So I'll tell you what I did, and you just modify it as you see fit. But just if you're kind of like, I don't know where to start, let me give you some concrete. So here's what I would do. Let's say it's Monday morning, right? We've had Greek on Saturday. You took Sunday off and went to church and drank some coffee and just had a nice day with your family. Terrific. So Monday morning, here's what I would do. I would read the assigned textbook chapter quickly. Not speed read it, but don't sit there taking notes. Don't sit there agonizing over it. Just read it quickly. Familiarize yourself broadly with its contents. And I'm not saying speed read. If you don't understand something, you can read it and reread it a couple times. But don't sit there making it a torturous experience. If you want to, you're done for the day. You could, if you feel up to it, watch the lecture video the same day. If you're like, I'm gung-ho, let's go, baby, then go for it. Otherwise, you could do it the next day. When you watch the lecture, take detailed notes. I would take notes furiously while you're watching the lecture. Notate everything, rewind it if you have to. These are pretty short lectures. They're 15, 20-minute lectures. It will not take much of your time. If you want to, you're done for the day. That's Tuesday. Wednesday, go back to the textbook. Read slowly, carefully, take detailed notes. Dr. Plummer will have told you in the lecture and in the textbook, and I probably will try and tell you too, what do you need to memorize from every chapter. There will be paradigms that you will see in there, and you will know what that means when you encounter them because they'll be labeled. Paradigms, you almost certainly need to memorize every single one that you encounter, unless it tells you specifically you don't have to. There will be some later in the textbook where it's like, you'll be like, I don't need to memorize this because it's building on a paradigm you already memorized. But on quizzes, you will be required to produce the entire paradigm in many cases. And you won't know which. It'll pick one from the textbook. And sometimes there'll be a bonus question with some more. And I won't tell you in advance. So come prepared. Also with vocabulary, you'll be tested on vocabulary. That'll be in the textbook as well. So when you've done your slow reading, you'll identify everything you need to memorize, vocabulary, paradigms. So start memorizing. Start memorizing it then. And to that end, once you've memorized it, you've gotten your first go-round done. Maybe that's Wednesday. Thursday, start your homework, right? And when you're doing homework, here's something I don't want to have happen. If you're doing your homework and you're sitting in front of a question, you've got your head in your hands, tears are streaming down your cheeks, you want to rip your book in half and throw it in the garbage, you're like, I don't understand! Go to the back of the book, check the answer key. You will still learn. If you don't understand what you're looking at and you check the answer key, you can reverse engineer what the correct, you can still learn that way. It's better to struggle, but I don't want this to take hours of your life. Because if this burns you out and frustrates you, you won't do it. So do not be afraid you have authorization to cheat on because the point of the homework is just to learn. That's the whole point. And so I strongly suggest you do not use the answer key unless you have to, but like if Greek is becoming a noose around your neck, like get the answer key. Go get the answer key. Try to do that sparingly. I did that all the time. I'm very good at Greek now. It's not going to stunt your growth forever. So that would be how I would approach that. This class is memorization heavy. It is memorization heavy. So I want to talk a little bit about memorization. There are flashcards that Dr. Plummer and Dr. Merkel, the two authors of the textbook, have produced that correspond to every chapter and all the content of the textbooks. You can buy them on Amazon. You could also do what I did when I learned Greek, and you could get a bunch of index cards and a Sharpie, and you can write your own flashcards. Or you can choose to use the best method for memorization that I know of. You're like, oh, there's a best method? Yeah, baby, there is. I'm going to write it up here for you. It is called Anki. And it is what is called a spaced repetition software, or SRS for short. Human beings remember and forget things on a mathematically predictable curve. I don't know if you knew that, but people who study human psychology have actually observed this, and it's proven true. And spaced repetition software is designed to exploit this to our advantage, because instead of having to constantly repeat something, we can predict how, basically, after you're exposed to information, we can calculate how long typically you'll forget a certain percentage of that information. And so we can inverse this relationship to say, how often do you need to be reminded of something to really remember it long term? That's what Anki's trying to do. It uses this algorithm and it uses machine learning to figure out how well you're doing on every individual flashcard you're working on. And there are Anki decks that already exist for all the content of this textbook provided by the publisher, which I have posted on Discord. They're available for you now. Anki, instead of you sitting there with a pile of flashcards being like, you know, having done them 50 times, being like, I don't know if I got it yet, which is a very real experience that I had, where I repeated the same card over and over again, bloodshot eyes, bulging veins, like, I don't know. Like, Anki will tell you when you're done. It'll tell you when you're done with a card. So it introduces 10 new cards a day, which is actually, if you use this for vocabulary, we're learning like 20 new words a week. So if you use Anki, you'd be learning like 70 new words a week. And actually, if you can handle it, go for it. Because I did that in seminary, and I ended up memorizing all the vocab from the textbook like 6 weeks into the semester. So, and that was in Greek too, and there's way more vocabulary there, because that's the only thing you have to memorize. So you can do that with Anki, and it'll bring a card up to you, right? And if you get it wrong, it'll bring it back to you in that same session you're working on it. And if you get it right one time, it'll come back to you again. If you get it right that time, it'll come back to you sometime in the future. The soonest is 1 day. The farthest I've seen is 15 days. So if you just nail one, like agape comes up, you're like, I know that means love. Boom! You won't see it for 2 weeks. Kind of nice. And Anki will also identify what's called leeches. If there's just the one vocabulary card that you just can't remember, bless your soul, it'll identify that for you. And it'll be like, you have a leech. And you can go to the deck, you can look at the browser, you can look at your leeches, and you can work on those. And it does also contain all of the paradigms of the textbook. That's the only deck I'll caution you about. Learning 10 new paradigms a day is probably going to melt your brain. So that deck is in there. It's available if you want to try it, but you may be better off relying on handwritten flashcards or just straight rote memory with the verbal paradigms and the noun paradigms and stuff like that. And what I would suggest to you, if you decide to go the rote memory route, is your target should be producing the paradigm in writing or verbally or both 10 times in a row, making no mistakes. And you should be done. And then just after that, your first memorization section, you can come back the next day and just kind of refresh it here and there. So Anki for vocabulary, it's like the difference between a chainsaw and a bandsaw for cutting down a forest. It's like, with the paradigms, it might overwhelm you. Now what you could do is you can customize each individual Anki deck, and there's instructions on how to do that in the Discord. I'll answer just in a second real quick, hon. And you can set it to give you only one new word or one new paradigm a day. So you could slow it down if you want to, which just occurred to me right now. So actually, that's not a bad idea. Ashley?
Do you recommend with the paradigms, like the memorizing the paradigms, like go through all of them once a day until you can get it 10 times, or is that like a 1 day a week?
That would be your
Practice
first
those.
session, I think, memorizing it. And then the next day, if you can just sit down and produce it perfectly, and keep going. Some of this will be like, this is partly what the quizzes are for. You'll find out what's working for you, if that makes sense. You'll be like, I did it this way and I was doing great. Then it came quiz time and like, I bombed, so you'll know. Like, that's why I'm quizzing you. That's one of the reasons why. So like, there's lots of extra credit built in too. So you can, and like probably, maybe just for, yeah, this is what Plumber did. I'll probably drop your lowest quiz score. So.
Wow.
You bomb your first one. Yeah, the point is just to learn Greek. I'm not trying to bust anybody's chops. You know what I mean? Like, this is, and the same is true for you, Zarek. Like, I'm not going to treat you any different than how I got treated as a student. And so Dr. Plummer is very gracious with us. You know, like, and if something happens, like we're grading, because we're grading the quizzes in class, I'll add a nice little bit of accountability. The midterm you may end up taking on your own with your mom. If some kind of thing happens where you're like, oh no, I accidentally cheated, or like I had a moment of weakness, I looked up one word or something like that. Well, for all of you who are not actually getting a real grade, I don't care. You're fine. The point is to learn Greek. Don't sweat it. Don't cheat. You're robbing yourself. But like, if you do, don't care. In your case, if something happens, just talk to me about it. Don't worry about it. I will be gracious. just be honest and talk to me about it. And so Dr. Plummer was like that. There was one time I graded a quiz and like I knew the right answer and I had written down the wrong one, and I kind of like psyched myself out and corrected it while I was watching the grading video, and I was in anguish of soul. And 5 minutes later, I emailed Dr. Plummer. I told him everything that happened, and he was like, "Give yourself the point, kid. Don't worry about it." And so it's just like, this stuff happens. There's a lot of stuff that can go wrong with learning Greek, and so like, the point didn't matter because I finished the class like a 106%. But like,
Wow.
Well,
You get above 100?
yeah, I got above 100, and so like. And I think that's probably why Dr. Plummer thought it was funny, right? Like, because like there's some students out there who just like go home and they open the textbook and they copy everything down to like cheat, just to get through. Like one person, like, realizing they had written down something wrong when they were grading it, like, he was just like, whatever, it's no big deal, but it happens. And so it happens, don't sweat it. So with Anki, there's more instructions and details about it in the Discord thing. There's a big article I posted from a place called Refold or whatever, and they specialize in teaching people learning other languages. Some other information, Anki is designed to help you remember 80% of what you encounter, not 100%. If you focus on learning 80%, you can usually increase the volume of what you learn by several orders of magnitude. Learning 100% is really hard. That unfortunately for you, my students, is the standard for the quiz though. 100% is the standard. So what I would suggest, if you're doing the vocabulary with Anki, and once you start doing that with Anki, I strongly suggest you review it daily. Maybe if you want to give yourself Sunday off, but like cards will start coming due. Anki is much faster for retaining vocabulary than other tools, but like you gotta keep at it. But what I would do before a quiz, maybe like on Friday or something like that, go to the vocabulary and the assigned portion of the textbook and just like refresh yourself specifically on that vocabulary. Would be my strong recommendation to you. And you'll get that. And the nice thing too is when you start getting all this stuff down, you start reading the New Testament, you won't have to, memorize that much more vocabulary anymore. You'll be able to pick things up from context, but that'll be you in the future. And so Anki also has 4 buttons on flashcards. 2 of them do not touch. The only buttons you care about are good and again. There's one that says easy and one that says hard, and they just mess up the algorithm. Don't touch them, they suck. I don't know why Anki hasn't removed those. No one uses them. Everybody on every website is like, Anki's great, but, and the first thing they say is don't hit those buttons.
Is it good and again?
Good and again. Now if you hit the other buttons, it's not like it's gonna break your flashcard deck, but if you hit hard, you could just be condemned to seeing the same card again every day for all eternity. So I don't recommend that. And Anki is free on desktop. And so you can make an account and sync it to other devices. So if you had a laptop and a desktop, they can talk to each other. It is $25 as a smartphone app. I bought that 5 years ago, and I regret nothing. Best $25 I ever spent. You don't have to, right? You can do other things if you want. But imagine sitting at the doctor's office, waiting for an hour as they make you do, and you can go nuts on your phone and memorize all the vocabulary. Very convenient, very convenient. You're in the drive-thru. You're getting your oil changed. You're on your phone. Vocabulary. I have used Anki to learn vocabulary in Greek, Hebrew, Aramaic, and German. I use it every day. I have 330 German flashcards to review, which is a ton, and I'm not looking forward to it today.
Are you working on German now?
I am. Yes.
That's an interesting language.
My German's terrible, John.
Do you have an iPhone?
I have an iPhone, yes.
Okay, it might be free on Android.
Okay, if it's free on Android, then knock yourselves out.
Yeah.
If you got an
Wow.
Android phone.
That's crazy. The perks.
Yeah, so there you go. You go to T-Mobile today and get you an Android phone. But yeah, you don't have to use Anki. I highly recommend it. And the thing is too, like, memorization is going to be a personal thing. You may find some things work great. One of the upshots, though, is your ability to memorize things will improve drastically once you do this. It's going to be painful at first if you're not in the habit of it. If you memorize scripture regularly, this is going to be pretty easy. If you do this, memorizing scripture will be like falling out of bed in the morning. So that'll be one kind of major advantage. And when it comes time to learn Hebrew, you'll already know how to memorize. So, and I can tell you want to learn Hebrew. So that will be a thing we talk about in the future. I get the feeling. Provided I don't get raptured or something. Of course I'm reformed, so I'm not too worried about that. But
Wait, hold on. Let's get into that. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah, boy.
Hold on. So what are you? Are you pre-trib? Are you post-trib?
I'm kind of what they call
Premillennial?
optimistic Amil would be I think the clearest label. I used to go around calling it post-mill, but after some soul searching and a couple of exegetical tweaks, I'd say I'm optimistic Amil. So Christ will return at the end of the millennium, which is right now. And when he does, all believers will be caught up with him. The resurrection will occur, the final judgment, all that stuff. So it'd be, to quote Tom Schreiner, zap and it's done. But optimistic, I believe that the gospel will go out to the four corners of the earth. The kingdom of God will continue to grow until basically the return of Christ, but that there will still be wickedness and sorrow and persecution and things in the world. So parable of the wheat and tares is pretty instructive, I think. But that, I'm still kind of working through how I feel about an eschatological antichrist and all that stuff. I think so. I kind of was in the camp where no, it's not, but I've seen some evidence that's made me. Eschatology is one of those things you shouldn't trust anybody on.
No.
Anybody who's really seriously studied it will change their view at some point. Even the most ironclad dispensationalists will still work their way through, like, my pre-trib, my mid-trib, my post-trib, and they'll never come to a place of
Bro,
truth.
that's where I'm at. Me and him talk about it all the time. We go through Matthew 24 and
Yeah.
Thessalonians all the time, and I'm just like, at first I was firm. I was like, no, it's this. And then we started reading. I was like, actually, it could be any of them.
Yeah, if you look, especially if you look at Revelation 20, honestly, compared to John chapter 5. But
Exactly.
but in any event, we don't want to talk about that today. So
Yeah.
I think we have covered all of the major important things to cover, unless anybody has any preferences on date, time, and location they want to share. Anybody, any thoughts? I mean, 8 a.m. seems to be working for all of us. It gets me out of bed. It keeps me from wasting my Saturday. I don't know about, maybe in the springtime when it's not so darn cold in this building. Jonah.
If there's no like reservation for scooters or like the library, and we wanted it to be warm in here, I could just come early and turn the heat on. That's a possibility.
That's a great idea, Jonah.
That's a great idea.
I will not hold you to that because getting up early on a Saturday is stinky, and I don't want to make you do that. But if you're offering, I will not turn you down. Whoever is great among you must be servant of all.
You could just sleep here the night before.
Be the first time. Also, the libraries.
Okay.
Hey, JP, and
Yo.
it says, Anki Mobile flashcard, or Anki Pro study flashcards.
Oh, have they made a new one? I just have Anki. Can you show me what you're seeing, Dennis, real quick?
Yeah.
Let me come over and take a
Yeah,
look.
Maybe the logo will help.
It's got, and you said it was $25, so it's that one, but then right below it says Anki Pro.
I have no idea what that is. This is what I use.
The one right there, yeah,
$25.
$25, okay.
Yeah. I don't know what Anki Pro is. Maybe they've come out with a new free version. If they have, that would be worth looking into. Maybe I'll take a look at that. Somebody, if I don't forget. Okay, so that is everything I think from the syllabus. So you have made it through. What time is it, folks?
8:48.
8:48. We actually have time to talk about the alphabet.
How long are the classes? I didn't ask that.
We're going to be trying to shoot for an hour.
Oh, okay.
But to be fair, I want to be respectful of people's time. So I'm going to try to be done in an hour. But if everyone is like, JP, we have 5,000 questions, I'm willing to stick around a little bit. That's one of the perks of doing this early in the morning. We have time. And so, okay, let's talk alphabet. I actually did not think we were going to make it this far.
Really?
Yeah, because normally you'll be doing all your lectures together online, but the alphabet is one of those things where you absolutely positively must get it right, or you will simply not be able to do Greek.
Are there little songs for the alphabet too?
There sure are, Eric. You're going to hear one today.
Is it a similar tone as ours? Or completely different?
Well,
Does it sound like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star?
Are we gonna hear you sing?
it does sound like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, but you are going to hear me sing. Cover your ears. All right, so one quick just front matter to cover. We are learning Koine Greek. And you might be like, JP, what's that? Now, John already knows. I can already tell. He's ready to go. But we're learning what's called Koine Greek, and that is not to be confused with classical Greek. So classical Greek is what, Homer wrote in. It's what Plato wrote in. We're learning what's called Koine, which is Greek for common. And where this came from was this guy, you might have heard of him. His name was Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great in the ancient Near East did this thing called conquering the known world. And he decided, since he was Greek, that he would make Attic Greek, the Greek that he spoke as an Athenian Greek, the language of the empire. Kind of like how French was the official language of all high society a couple hundred years ago, so it became Greek. He made everyone speak Greek. Well, when everybody speaks Greek, Greek changes. So the thing that causes a language to change is usage. And so languages begin to bump up against each other and changes happen. And so while Koine Greek and classical Greek are still Greek, like I have read some classical here and there, it's much harder. You could learn classical and go to Koine pretty easily. The inverse, I think, is tough. But it's called common because everybody spoke it, and so it began to change pretty rapidly. And that's the Greek of like, you know, kind of the range. I think the typical scholarly range is like 300 BC to a couple hundred years after the birth of Christ. I think up into like the 300s AD, something like that. I probably should have double checked that before I recorded it on a video and put it online for the whole world to see and for Dr. Plummer to watch and laugh at me. Because I'm sure he's a curious guy. He might actually be intrigued by the presence of videos. But that's what we're learning. Just so you know, that's the particular slice of Greek we're learning, and the entire New Testament was written in Greek. There were some theories that certain books of the New Testament may have originally been written in Hebrew, but we have very strong reason to believe that is not the case. Because we know what translation Greek looks like. There's this thing called the Septuagint, or the Septuagint if you want to be a real patrician about it. The Septuagint is the Greek translation of the Old Testament from Hebrew and Aramaic into Greek. And it looks funny. Like you can look at it and you're like, this doesn't read like regular Greek because it's translated from Hebrew, right? It kind of has like they were trying to keep it fairly faithful to the original. And so we kind of know what translation Greek looks like, and the New Testament just looks like natural, typical Greek. Nothing special about it. It's not a special, unique language. It's the language they spoke. It's the language that contracts were written in. It's the language that business was done in, right? So like, it's just a normal language. So just wanted to get that little bit of the front matter out of the way. And so let's talk then the Greek alphabet. So there'll be more information in your textbook, but I wish there was some way to keep this wretched thing open. Stay open, book.
Do you want to put my phone on it?
I do. See, marriage is great.
It is.
It's not good for a man to be alone. That's what all you unmarried people have all the time in the world to look forward to. Okay, so let's talk the Greek alphabet. You guys, I promised you some singing.
Oh no.
You will have to produce the entire Greek alphabet on the quiz. I will give you that in advance.
The first quiz?
So next Saturday, you need to have this memorized. So, alpha, beta, gamma, delta.
Oh, I already got this.
Yeah, alpha, beta, gamma, delta, and I'll give you the rest in a minute. Actually, right now. Epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, iota, kappa, lambda, mu, nu, psi, omicron, pi,
There's a lot of math in this.
rho. Oh, get ahead of myself here, right? This is the worst marker I've ever seen.
It is Twinkle Twinkle Little Star.
Yeah. Rho, sigma, tau, upsilon, phi, chi. Okay, now see the Greek teachers making mistakes. Phi, chi, psi, omega, alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, iota, kappa, lambda, mu, nu, psi, omicron, pi, rho, sigma, tau, upsilon, phi, chi, psi, omega. Ashley.
Does the textbook teach you how to like write the letters
No, we're going to cover it.
properly?
Dr. Plummer will go over that in the
Okay.
lecture, but we're also going to talk a little bit about that in class. So I just kind of want to introduce you broadly
Okay.
to the alphabet. But let's zero in. I've given you the whole alphabet, and you have it in your textbooks. But let's zero in on a couple of letters here. Let's talk the first sounds. So we've got alpha. And alpha, and I'll show you, watch how I draw. So you'll come down like this, like that. So like this, like this, like this. Try not to put a little flourish there, that was a mistake. But you don't have to be perfect at this. And there are different ways to write Greek. I'm just showing you the way I was taught, and Dr. Plummer showed me the way he was taught when he studied at Duke. So if you have something to write with, I say practice writing some alphas. Alpha. And as you kind of suspect, right, alpha bears something in common with another letter, doesn't it, that you might be familiar with? A.
No way.
And alpha makes a sound kind of like the ah in father. We are learning a pronunciation of Greek, by the way. You'll get more detail on this in the lectures, called Erasmian. And it's kind of artificial, but it is based on how Greek is pronounced. There are different pronunciation schemes given in your textbook. Knock yourself out if you want to do that. Erasmian is very simple. Every letter only makes one sound in Erasmian. Very helpful for teaching. There's a reason it's got buy-in. So alpha makes it sound like ah in father. And then there's beta. Beta is one of the funny ones to write.
Or like an upside down, or like a.
Yeah, so you just do like that. So probably some of the better betas I've drawn actually. See, beta. And beta, oh, I bet you can't guess what sound beta makes. Da-da, look at that, it's like B.
On a stick.
B as in Baptist. There
It's
we
kind
go,
of like
now we're
cousin.
talking. B as in Baptist. It is true that some of the other pronunciation schemes have different pronunciations for beta, and we don't need that kind of negativity in our lives. We're going to use the Erasmian one, where it just makes a B sound. So B as in Baptist. So you could combine, and I strongly recommend just keep practicing the letters. They're going to look like trash at first, you'll get good at it. But if you took, you went alpha, beta, that's ab, something I don't have. You have beta alpha, ba, like what a sheep says, right? That's kind of, there you go. Gamma. Let's talk, gamma's kind of a funny one to draw, so you want to watch this one pretty closely. Up, like that. If you've written in cursive, this will be a whole lot easier for you. But yeah, kind of down like this, up like that, down like this, up like that, kind of almost like an upside down
L.
yeah, or a bow or something. Like an upside down cursive L, actually, that's a great way to do it there. Yeah, that's gamma. And what sound do you think gamma makes?
Good.
Sure does.
It's just like your cousin.
Basically the letter G, G. So you could say gamma, alpha, beta would be
Gab.
gab. Maybe more like gob, but like, yeah. Like and you'll get more details. But yeah. Yeah, so here you go. So you're starting to be able to sound out the letters here, right? It's similar to English in a lot of ways. It's not like Hebrew. Hebrew hits you with things like this, and this, and this. And you're like, what is that? It's like Klingon. Yeah, it is. Klingon would be easier.
What's Klingon?
From Star Trek, don't worry about it. Okay, so there's your alpha, beta, gamma, and now delta. Delta again. So. And delta is like one of the hardest things for me to write in the entire world. So your deltas when you watch Dr. Plummer might be better.
Kind of looks like a note.
Yeah,
Like
it
a
does.
YouTube
Yeah.
note.
Yeah. You did really good on the first one you did, in blue.
I think this one looks a little better. And you can see in your textbook too, if you've got it with you, what it's supposed to look like. The handwritten script will always be a little different, right? You might be like, but it doesn't look like the Greek in my textbook. And I'm like, does your handwriting look like Times New Roman? And delta, I mean, guys, I know we're out on a limb here, but what sound do you think delta makes?
Yeah.
D, yes, correctamundo. And so delta equals D, as in dog. And so you could say bad. Bad. What, not attending class? Like, I'm kidding. People have good reasons for not being here. But bad, or, like the tribe of Gad. So there you go. Does that all, you tracking with these 4 letters, folks?
Yeah.
Okay, cool deal. So alpha, beta, gamma, delta. It's going to start to get a little more interesting here shortly. Now we have epsilon. And I think Dr. Plummer draws zeta like that, so I'll give you the Plummer version of it. I kind of learned the Times New Roman zeta. Zeta, eta, theta. These are the ones that get a little different actually from English here. So epsilon is just kind of drawn like the letter E. It just looks like that. That's what epsilon looks like.
It's like a cursive E.
Yeah, that should be pretty easy, just cursive without the curly Q's, basically. And it's not going to correspond exactly to the English letter E. It actually makes an E sound. As in like pet. So it's that kind of E sound. It never makes an E sound, it makes an E sound.
Okay.
So pet as in pet. That's your sound with epsilon.
Epsilon.
There's your epsilon. So you could say, what does that say?
Bag.
Beg, yes. There you go, gold star. Don't tell Charles. Okay, so epsilon makes an E as in pet. And then eta, or actually zeta, sorry. And again, Dr. Plummer has an interesting way of drawing. I'm just gonna kind of keep consistent with his model. It's not easy, because how I normally do it is like this, but you do not have to do that. You can do this, it's much easier. Zeta is acceptable in either form. I like this one better. So we'll talk, I'll give you a couple examples of zeta. So, and if the line on your text is like right here, right?
This one's zeta.
You expect zeta to go below the line. So-
Z.
It's no.
Yeah, kind of, actually. It's not all that different. And so you kind of expect it to look like that. I mean, don't get me wrong. You're not going to have to write any letters to people in Greek. No one's going to critique your handwriting unless you learn modern Greek and move to Greece. And if you do that, bully for you. Zeta actually makes a sound that no English letter by itself makes. So you might be inclined to think to yourself, this is the same as Z. Not quite. It kind of makes like a Z sound, zeta.
Like
Z.
Z-U-H, like Z.
More like
With an E in front of it.
more like having a D in front of it, like Z. So,
Z.
Z.
Okay.
Let me see if he's got a good example.
Z. Okay.
Yeah,
I
there
get
you
that,
go,
yeah.
here you go. It's like the Z in, this is Dr. Plummer's example. He must have really had to hit the thesaurus to find this bad boy. Kudzu. I don't know what kudzu is.
Kudzu?
I don't know what that is, but he put it in there. It's like the Z as in kudzu. That's what the kind of sound that zeta makes. There's other pronunciations which just treat it like a regular Z sound. That's what modern Greek does. I'm not going to come over to your chair and be like, you fool, you forgot the D sound. Like, it's not a huge deal. But that's the Z and zeta. So zeta is one of the funny ones, right? We don't really have a letter. That was my best one. Yeah, there you go.
Well, the cursive Z is that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so cursive Z has like the curly Q.
Yeah.
And so that one straightforward enough. So if we had, what would that be?
Zed.
Z, correct. Z.
Zed's dead.
How about
Bads.
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 Bad.
look at you guys go. You're so smart.
Bad.
This is great. How about
Oh, this is tricky.
Geds?
Geds.
Yeah. There you go. There you go. See, Jonah knows. He's like, JP won't call on me if I keep answering. Smart boy. Smart boy. Now, the next one we have is Ada.
How do you spell that? Like A-E-T-A.
This is how you would spell it in English. Ada, that's how you would spell it in English, if you wanted to write that out. But Ada. Ada kind of fills in for the parts of the letter E that are missing with epsilon. Ada makes a kind of A sound. A. So it'd be like the A in 8. A in 8. A and 8. And it's considered a long vowel. You don't have to worry about that now, but you will learn later. Ada is kind of written like the letter N. It looks a little bit like that. Mine is a little, because I've taught myself, I kind of have some Times New Roman energy with some of my Greek letters. So like, you will probably want to take a look at how Plummer writes things. Because like, sometimes Ada might be more like, that might just look more like an N. And it's also, it's not unusual for it to go below the line. So don't be shocked by that if you see it. I think it's true. Let me look at it again. Yeah, it goes below the line sometimes. And you can see it in your textbook. Obviously, poor Ashley can't because I have the textbook that she's going to use. But let's see. All right, who hasn't Bade.
Bade.
Correct. Good job, Ash. Yep, Bade. This is actually a word in Greek. Let me write that better. It's a word in Greek. It's really important. It sounds bad, but we're gonna cover it anyway because you have to.
Gay.
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 That's the word for earth.
For earth?
Yeah.
Wow.
For earth or land is gay.
Wow, gay.
I will refrain from making the immature joke that I want to make. Okay, so does eta make sense? There you go. Makes an A sound. And the nice thing is you'll notice so far a pretty close correspondence between the first sound of the letter and the sound that it makes. Even Hebrew is merciful in that regard. That just seems to be how people made alphabets. Probably, historically, the Hebrew and Greek probably both go back to the Phoenician alphabet, we think. Even though both are different languages, they probably got, because Hebrew got most of its alphabet from Aramaic. So, not most of it, it got its alphabet from Aramaic.
Is Phoenician the first language that we know of?
I don't think so. I'm not a super duper expert on that. It just was local to the area, and it might be one of the first scripts. Let me write that theta because I just erased it. All right, and the next letter we have is theta. And theta makes a TH sound. Theta. And you draw it, there's two ways to write theta. I like this way, where you just kind of circle, boop, just like that. So come down like this. You could also draw it in the Times New Roman fashion, draw a line through there like that, make it kind of look like a Pokeball. For those that know, you know. But you don't have to. And so it makes a TH sound. And so if we took this, what do we got?
Them.
That, yeah, correct. Correct. This one should be easy for Ashley.
Death.
Death, yeah.
Why was that one easy for her?
Video game that we both played.
Oh, wow. Okay.
There's aliens called.
Makes a lot of nerd references.
I'm an enormous nerd.
I was just trying to remember. I was like, I wanted to say O, because it looks like an O.
Nope.
Yeah, God.
Yeah, it makes a TH sound. A really common word that you will see that begins with theta is theos. That's the word for God in Greek. So theta, very important.
So the O looks like an O and the S looks like an S.
Yeah, that's an omicron. Disregard the dots. But like a theta, an omicron will usually be kind of like small, whereas a theta will be significantly larger. Yeah, it'll be very easy to spot. Because it just looks so funny.
Is that how like theology, like theo came into, like from Greek? Is that how theo came?
Yeah, theology, where that
Yeah.
came from? Yes, absolutely. That is absolutely right there. And the other part, the ology part, comes from the Greek word logos, which can refer to word or a study of something. So you have theos plus logos and you get theology.
Okay.
Yep. Very good observation. Okay, so theta, epsilon, eta, zeta, theta. Our next set, iota, kappa, lambda, mu.
So the like kind of C looking thing is Yoda.
Yeah,
Yoda?
I need to draw that a little bit better.
I know that reference. Little green guy?
There you go. That's more of how Yoda should look.
Oh, so it's more like an L, like
Yeah.
a kind of slightly angled L.
But do not be deceived. It does not make the same sound as L. Yoda makes the sound as like a long E. A long E. So it's like
E.
E. So like it'd be like the E in
Greek.
ski.
Oh.
Ski. And it can also be short. So it can also be like the I in sit. In sit. Kind of context and certain aspects of word formation will tell you. And it's not like, you know, anybody's coming after you if you don't quite get it right. So, but
Because we're not even going to be speaking this language, you just be reading it, right?
no, having correct pronunciation will help you memorize. Like, you know, it'll help you understand it. Help you remember.
Could you learn how to speak if you like in this class?
Not in my class, but learning to speak this language is possible. There's a guy out there. His name is Benjamin Cantor, Kantor. He's a professor at Cambridge, and he and his people have kind of spearheaded a movement for learning to speak Greek. They have like full conversations in Greek. They have, kind of like an audio version of the Gospel of Mark off audio and video. It's all in Greek, Koine Greek. So you totally could learn to do that. It's actually beneficial to look into some of that stuff if you want to, if you're like really enthusiastic about it, because it'll help you with this a lot. It'll help improve your brain's thinking. There's also audio Bibles available in Greek. I think it's the, let's say Olive Tree audio Bible. I have it on Logos, and it's the whole New Testament read out loud. Learning to speak, it's a different skill set. What we are learning to do in this class is called a grammatical translation approach. You are learning to analyze Greek and turn it into English. However, you will learn how to read and really understand Greek this way. Like now, in many cases, I can sit and read without translating it into English in my mind. I can sit and just read it. But I've been doing this for a long time, so.
If you did learn how to speak it though, and you use that in evangelism to battle like the Jehovah's Witnesses and the Mormons and stuff, I've noticed that it's very powerful because they don't know any of that. And
Yeah.
once you start saying that, they're like, okay, this guy definitely knows more than me.
I mean, Hebrew is really lethal to the Mormon argument because they say that Jehovah and Elohim are two separate people.
Yep.
And 500 times in the Old Testament, God is called Yahweh Elohim.
Mhm.
And the Elohim is clearly an apposition. And so the Bible treats them as if they're the exact same person.
Yeah.
Well, the same being. We should be precise. But
The Jehovah's Witnesses have that discrepancy with the theon and theos too.
Yeah.
They say, oh, well, Jesus isn't like God because it's theon here instead of theos and all this.
yeah, you will learn
Middle
learn
now.
that that's nonsense because
It's nonsense.
the Greek case system, theos and theon, are the same exact word.
They're interchangeable.
Yeah, the same word. Theon is just in the accusative case, which is the case of direct object. So that would be like saying, because like names could be declined in a case system. Like I talked to my professor at Southern, Kaspars Voslins. He's from Latvia, and his name will change depending on what part of the sentence it's being used in. It'll take a different case ending.
This is awesome.
So, so it's just like, I don't know where my wife ran off to. I'm guessing the bathroom.
She had enough, bro.
She's like, no more Greek. So there's your Yoda. So just that's how you write it, right? So it's kind of like that, and it's going to be a pretty small letter too. I'm probably drawing a little too big here, and like again, no one's going to be the how long is your bottom part police. You know what I mean? I'm not coming after you. I'm not going to be like, that's wrong. Erase that and rewrite it. Let's see. What's that?
Bid.
Bid, correct. Correct.
Nice. Oh, you're gonna be good at this, bro.
All right, I think you guys get Yoda pretty well, don't you?
Yeah.
So let's talk about Kappa. This is it's not one of the funny ones, let me tell you. Kappa is about as straightforward as it gets, baby.
Kappa, like P.
Kappa. Yeah, this would be how you would spell Kappa in English.
It's always K. I put it.
That's what makes this hard is some of them are the same and some of them are completely different.
And Kappa's kind of nice here in Greek because
the rest of them are like
look at what Kappa looks like, guys.
Huh.
And guess what sound makes. Look at that. Although a lowercase k technically looks a little different than that, right? But I don't often write. There's your lowercase English K, and a Kappa kind of looks like a small English capital K in lowercase.
A small English capital.
And just to clarify, I am teaching you the lowercase script for Greek. There are uppercase letters in Greek, and Dr. Plummer will go over that in the lecture. So.
Which one does the Blue Letter Bible use?
I don't know. I never used Blue Letter Bible.
Oh, okay.
Probably. I mean, every edition of the Greek New Testament you're going to be able to purchase today, such as the one I brought for a little show and tell. Actually, the Greek New Testament Reader's Edition. If you're like, I want to buy a copy of the New Testament in Greek, this is a decent place to start. It's got in the bottom on each page, it'll have like uncommon words. It'll tell you what they mean. It'll parse them for you. So it's designed to help you read. So some scholars don't like it. They poo-poo it, and I'm like, I don't care what you think. So Kappa makes a k sound, and it's pretty straightforward. So what does this say?
Big.
Bic, yeah, like the popular pen. I mean, so I can make an E or an I sound, and then Kappa is just K. Nothing special. It's just the letter K. It's one of the freebies that you get, and there's not a lot of those. All right, Kappa and Yoda, clear to everybody. Ashley, I know you're probably in the restroom. Is that all good for you?
Sure.
right? You got Yoda and Cap?
What's the
Yoda.
Yoda? Oh, okay.
Yoda makes an E sound or an I sound.
Okay.
Like the I in sit or the E in ski. Okay. So everybody tracking so far. Okay, cool. Now,
So for the quiz, do we need, we're only doing lowercase?
yeah, you don't need to worry about the uppercase at all. Uppercase, you basically, the beginning of new sentences, the first letter will be uppercase. The titles of books of the Bible will be all uppercase. And then occasionally at the beginning of a quotation, you'll have an uppercase letter. But 99% of what you're going to see is all lowercase.
And how about proper nouns?
No, most of those are going to be lowercase. So, which is actually all of those are going to be lowercase. It's really funny. So the original Greek manuscripts, actually, if you were to go back and look at those, they were all written in uppercase. And they had no punctuation. They didn't even have spaces between words. It's just a sea of letters.
You're joking.
Not at all. Papyrus was expensive. And so they jammed that puppy in there full.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and so you had to just know what you were doing. People learned, right? Hebrew manuscripts, ancient ones were the same way. They didn't even have vowels. Greek at least had vowels. Over the centuries, Plummer will go into this more detail in the lecture, but over the centuries, as people became less familiar with ancient Greek, scribes and teachers began to try and make it more accessible to students. And so what's funny, people will get bent out of shape of like, does the New Testament, does this translation capitalize, the H in him when referring to God? Does this one not do it? It's like, in the original, every letter was uppercase, and all the scholarly editions, they're all lowercase. It's like, this is silly. This is just an English convention to fight over. Like, this didn't exist. This would be, if you asked the Apostle Paul about this, he'd have been like, what are you talking about? He'd have been like, you must be a demon or something. Like, he'd have been confused with you. Like, he would have been shocked. Okay, so, next letter. Lambda. And actually, it's probably more like this. Yeah, don't disregard that. That's a sad
It's
lambda.
like a giraffe.
It does.
It does look more like a giraffe than lambda. And this is basically the letter lambda, right? You can just this and this. This. Kind of looks like the Hebrew letter gimel, actually. Not that you guys care about that, but lambda. And lambda.
Oh, lambda.
Is it lambda or lambda?
Lambda.
Like a lamb? Like Mary had a little lamb?
Lambda.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, actually.
Lambda. Lambda. And it makes an L sound. Lambda
Nice.
equals L. And it's just going to be just like the L and everything. Like, I don't know, L as in, we'll use the textbook example here, lock. L as in lock. Just L. So maybe we have,
So, can I ask you a real question?
sure.
So, let's say you want to memorize it. Would it be easier to memorize what they sound like before you memorize what they look like? Like if you went down the alphabet one, like A, B, G, D, that type of stuff.
You could, you absolutely could if you wanted to, Zarek. It's whatever gets it into your head. The thing is, as you kind of picked up on, the name contains the sound.
Mm-hmm.
Often.
Yeah, often the case. So, I think the best thing to do is to memorize the whole thing straight through the alphabet, and then also to work on the sounds. That's kind of what we're doing today, is to help familiarize you with that. That's why you got to learn the song, and I might make you all sing it with me. So, oh yeah.
That's what they do in youth group.
Yep. In this case, you're actually getting something out of it. So, I'm kidding. All right, who can tell me what this says?
Clit. Clit.
Yoda can make one other sound.
Clay?
Clee.
Clee? Yes. Who said that? Yeah, Clee. Good. Let's be funny. All right, how about this then?
So if it's at the end of the word, it's going to be an E.
Probably, yeah.
Is that like safe?
So glee.
That's fairly safe, yeah.
We-
And again, you'll get more information when you go through the textbook and stuff like that. I'm just trying to get you up to speed on the alphabet.
Okay.
So, Glee, there you go. And then maybe we could, let's get some bigger letters, some bigger words here. So how about, and by the way, none of these are real words.
Glid.
Geld?
Geld. Who said geld? Good job.
Geld.
Finally got one, dude.
Good job.
Yeah, it's my first one. Oh yeah, JP, please Man, I don't like, please don't give me gold stars.
It's too late,
I
John.
stopped answering Pastor Charles
Is
over
that
gold
the
stars.
is that the zeta?
Blake?
Blake, who said that?
What is that? Oh, is that the N?
That's an eta right here.
Okay.
Eta makes the A sound.
Sorry, I didn't know if that was a Z or.
Yeah, this is going to be one of the harder ones to identify.
Cause it looks like an A.
Yeah.
So
And just
question.
remember, like when you see in the textbook, all the printed zetas that you'll have to identify will look like that kind of.
Yeah.
They'll look better than that. Joe, you got your hand up?
Question, yeah, so would that be equivalent to the English BLAKE?
Yes, correct. Absolutely.
Blake.
Yeah, because eta equals the A in AIDS.
I have a boy, I might name him that.
AIDS.
In Greek, that'd be cool.
So,
Sweet.
It would be cool to name your kid something in Greek.
Yeah.
Nobody would know.
let's see. Let's try some other letters just to make sure you guys are up to speed.
I feel really bad for that kid.
Yeah. Well, in today's world, I thought he would even discriminate. Yeah.
All right. This one looks a little more like space runes, doesn't it? This looks a little less like English.
Blades?
Blades is correct.
I don't even know where.
Blades is correct. So remember, zeta
Did you
is
say flades?
zeta is a
Blades.
DZ sound. Eta is an A sound. Theta, TH sound.
Wow.
I'm glad like half the Greek alphabet is like math stuff. 'cause-
Yeah, you're gonna see it a lot. And then lambda
Let me see.
is an L sound. Okay, so flades. Let's all do. Everybody read that together. So flades.
Flades.
Flades. Okay. And again, there's no Greek word called blades, so after today you'll never have to worry about that again. We're trying to teach you this out.
Oh, you're just making all these up?
Yep.
Okay. I'm trying to remember the words too.
Start using them.
All right. How about this one? And I've got your cheat sheet on the board.
A.
Ashley, you got it. I can see you got it.
Ale. Oh wait, no, ale. Elflay.
I think your mouth in the correct words.
Alphay.
Elfay.
Alphay.
Yeah, ale thing?
Yep, that's correct.
Okay.
Absolutely correct. Yep. So every Greek syllable will have only one vowel, right? So your vowels, you've seen a couple so far, right? We've had alpha, we've had epsilon, we've had eta, we've had iota so far, right? We've seen a couple of vowels. Every Greek syllable will only have one vowel. So if you're ever wondering the pronunciation, you kind of mouthed your way to it, right? You kind of figured it out. Ale, thay, right? Here's your two syllables. So, all right. And bear in mind, this is probably going to be the most foreign part of all this for you. Because you're learning an alphabet from a totally different language, right? It's just weird. Like if you're an American and we learn French or Spanish or German, you're using the same alphabet, right? You learn Latin, you're using the same alphabet. You go to Greek, using an ancient alphabet, very old. So, all right.
So would you say Greek is one of the harder languages to learn?
Yes and no. I mean, my definition of what constitutes a harder language has been forced to change over the years. But Greek has a lot of similarities to English because English and Greek have a common ancestor called Proto-Indo-European. And people, I think, say Greek and Latin are of comparable difficulty. I'm actually like Hebrew was hard. Honestly, the hardest language I've learned so far is German. German's brutal, and maybe it's just my brain just doesn't operate that way. But German about killed me.
I've heard Russian is very difficult.
Yeah.
Is English hard? Like, let's say you learned a different language.
Yeah, English is
Yeah.
supposedly really hard.
Cause our grammar.
We have
rules-
like 50 different words for a single word.
Yeah, because we
Yeah.
steal them from other languages. I think my sister said English likes to rough up other languages in a dark alley and rifle through their pockets.
Okay.
Um,
Graphic.
if you know my sister, you're like, yeah, that's a Rachel.
Okay.
So our next letter is Mu.
Oh, man, I with English.
And Mu also goes below the line. And Mu, you probably can guess what
Did
sound
you
this
say
makes.
moo?
Yeah, and it makes the same sound as dun, da, 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 M, as in Moo. I actually have to spell that correctly. So apparently I'm so bad at English, I can't even write an English word anymore. Look at this.
Funny, because it looks like an M and a U combined in the letter anyway.
Yep. And you can kind of see it in the textbook, and it looks a little more distinct. The handwritten form, you don't thankfully ever have to interpret much of. But Moo makes a sound. So we could we could do a little English here.
Clam.
Yeah! Boom! Instant clam. And we could also do,
I like the way these like words look. It's kind of, you know,
Looks cryptic.
like you do cursive, and cursive looks awesome. Then you look at this,
alright,
it's like
Ashley, give me this
Yeah.
one.
I'm thinking.
Mu, Yoda, Lambda, Kappa.
oh,
Is it like
okay.
milk?
Milk?
It is milk, yeah, exactly. I gave you an English word. Clam, milk. Yep. So mu is pretty straightforward, isn't it? Don't worry, guys. There's some weird ones coming. Don't you sweat. I promised you some weird letters, and you're gonna get them. All right. So alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, iota, kappa, lambda, mu, nu, psi, omicron, pi. Welcome to the strange dimension. All right. So the first one we'll talk about is nu. And you're like, okay, my ears hear a n sound. My eyes see the letter V. Your eyes deceive you.
How do you like say it, like spell it? Is it literally just in? Oh, okay.
So this makes an N sound. And there are some weird things with some of the pronunciation that we probably won't get into today because now it's like 9:30. So I guess we'll finish the alphabet and then I'll turn you loose to finish studying. This is not everything, right? You're just learning the basic alphabet. There's more to pronunciation than this. It's in your book, it's in the lectures. But this will give you a nice little jump start. So nu makes a N sound. So we could say, actually, I'm going to give you a real Greek word. Give you a real Greek word that you've actually heard before in English, but it's not pronounced exactly the same.
Nike.
Nike, correct. This means victory in Greek. You're probably familiar with this.
Nike.
Nike, yes, that's where they get the word from. Yep, Nike is getting there from Greek word Nike. So, yeah, it's the Greek word for victory. You will see this in the New Testament, actually. So, and I think haven't spelled it totally exactly accurate, so don't photocopy that. But Nike, right? Nike. Let's see. This one almost looks
Ben?
English. Yeah, that one looks pretty close. Here's actually something you will see fairly frequently in the Greek New Testament. Yeah, and on either be acceptable. Yep. And as a particle, you'll see fairly frequently. And let's see. Add a beta in front of that. What do we get? Ban. Yeah, ban, bond. No, again, it's not like the law of the Medes and Persians here with the alphas, various sounds. Okay, so does nu make sense to everybody? And drawing it, again, it's just the letter V. Kind of has like a little flourish. You could technically be like, like a gamma, but you could be a little artsy fartsy if you so desired. But there's no need to. Just a simple V will suffice. Again, Dr. Plummer may tell you otherwise. And the caveat is whenever I'm explaining something, if you watch a lecture and Plummer says something, he's right, I'm wrong. So, okay, so there's nu. Now psi. This one is a tough one to write. And I can't do it unless I do psi.
So like
Psi.
X-I?
Yes, actually, that is how you spell it in English.
Psi.
English
X-I.
spelling is like this. And so this one is tough. That is what it looks like.
It's like an E and an S.
Yeah, like a fishing hook.
And sometimes it just comes out all discombobulated.
Yeah.
It is a tough, like it is, sometimes mine come out looking like zetas. Even Dr. Plummer struggles with this, so he says so in the lecture video. But you basically want that to come under the line, essentially. And it makes a x, x sound. So like the
X.
so as in X, in X. So it just makes an X sound. So it It's basically,
Fox.
it is a x sound. Yep, xi. This will be one of the harder ones to write. Luckily, you're not gonna get graded too harshly on your writing. Because you're gonna grade your own quiz in class. I'll go through the answer key with you, and you'll just hand in the scores to me. So I'm assuming you won't be deceitful. All right. So there's Xi, and then Omicron.
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 Oh, Omicron.
That one's actually the O, huh?
But it is an O, but it makes a short O sound. So it's like the O in often.
Are you saying Omicron or Omnicron?
Omicron.
Okay.
So OMNICRON.
Omicron. Omni. No N sound. Yeah.
Oh, there's no N.
No N. Yeah. Omicron. Omicron. And it just makes the sound. So it won't make an O sound.
Okay.
So it would be, for example, that's a terrible looking delta. What is this word?
Dog.
Dog. Yeah, everyone's favorite, man's best friend.
I disagree.
And this is something,
What's
I
man's
have the
best
dad
friend?
equivalent of.
I prefer cats, but.
It depends on cat.
That's a pod. Yep. Like I said, I have the dad equivalent.
I have a dog that changed my mind at my house right now.
Here's a really, this is not a real Greek word. This is just nonsense, but.
Lothny, no, Lothnick.
Remember what this sound,
I'm
this is
guessing
not an
that
N.
one.
Lotham?
Lotham?
Lotham.
Eric, you're on it.
Lotham?
Lotham.
Lothame.
Lotham.
Thame, remember, eta
Lotham.
equals AY. It is always that way. So Lothame. So yeah, it's kind of, actually I could give you a real Greek word. Maybe I will. I'll give you a real Greek word here. A word that you will actually, you will end up memorizing this later word. Remember, Omicron. O as in often. Makes an sound. And a helpful thing to do is think syllables. Think syllabically. Let's break that in half.
I don't forget what that one is.
Aelthon, that's correct.
Where's the, oh,
Yep.
it's right there. Yeah.
That is a past tense verb you
Aethon.
just learned. Or actually, it's an aorist tense verb, not a past tense. Greek is not past tense. But, so, there you go. That's one. Now we have
Pie.
psi.
Oh,
Oh,
sigh.
Oh, actually, no, I just gave you sign on. What am I talking about? There you go. Pi. Pi.
Oh, it's actually
We
called
know
pie.
that, we know that one.
Yeah, everybody should know this bad boy. And I'm terrible at writing pi, so. You don't have to do a little squirrely, curly Q thing here. I think you can just do a straight line if it suits you. I like the little flourish, you know, it makes me feel special. And it is, I bet you guys can kind of anticipate what this one might be. It's P, yes. So the P as in pond. That's the example that Dr. Plummer gives. Pond.
Or as in pie.
Yep.
Pond.
What would this be?
Pox.
Pox, yes, a pox upon your house. Pox. Let's see.
Mox.
Pox. Okay. Got some other ones here. How about
Ab.
Ab? I don't know what that is.
Pad.
Pad.
I'm getting the hang of this. You know?
Yep.
You're gonna get an A, bro.
A great candy.
Pets.
Pets.
Ped.
Really more like pets, but you know, we do what we can with Greek. All right, you have now learned those letters. All these letters make sense so far. All right, we have made it through pi. Now, we get to some weirder ones. Rho, sigma, tau, upsilon. Okay, Two of these probably immediately draw your attention, like, I know those. You
Sigma.
probably do. But let's talk rho. Rho would be spelled in English like this, rho, and you probably can, and it's gonna go below the line. You can probably anticipate what sound this makes. It makes an R sound, as in red. Probably, well, there's some funny business about rho that you'll learn later. But well, you'll learn it in this chapter, in fact, but not from me today. But rho makes a sound as in like red or rhyme. That's what the textbook has. So a r sound, rhyme. So we could just
Red.
your brain's gonna be like, it's a P! No, do not believe the lies. Or how
So
about,
is it really just a P, like?
it's kind of more curved, you know, like
Okay.
that, like, well, that's terrible.
Roth.
Roth, correct, like the IRA. Roth IRA. That, you know, that's how you know you're old, if you know what that is.
They don't still have those?
They do still have those, it's just that it means you pay taxes and you're grown up and like.
Nor.
Nor, correct. Yeah, dude, Derek, you're killing it.
Yeah.
Let's see. Well,
I should have had more coffee.
Should have looked at the alphabet before we started this class, like.
It's almost as if someone suggested that via email.
Bread.
Bread. Okay, next one. Zarek, you'll have to wait. You're getting them too fast. I want to make some other people suffer. Let's see. What other silly words can I come up with? A little bigger here.
Wow.
Oh, hi.
Steady. All right, folks. Let's see what you got.
Zlamer?
What's this letter, John?
Oh, glamour.
Glamour, that's correct. Correct.
What is that?
It's nonsense.
Glamour with a long sound on the A?
It's nonsense. That's what it is. Okay, row makes sense to everybody so far.
It's like a southern accent.
Glamour.
All right. Now sigma.
Hey, I'm from Louisiana, bro.
Hey.
Sigma is a little bit of a snowflake. Sigma is a special letter.
Snowflake, huh?
So sigma, you can probably guess what sound it makes, right?
Is it? Oh, Sigma.
It is an S. Yes, sigma. It's what a lot of people talk about on social media. S as in sand. S as in sand. But
A lot of O's in this thing.
when sigma appears at the beginning or middle of a word, it will look like this. When sigma occurs at the end of a word, it will look like this. And it'll be easy to spot because it will look like an S. Not exactly like an S, but take for example, we have the Greek word, I'll actually give you a real word here. I'll give you a real word. I'll give you, well, that looks more like a theta. I can't do that to you guys. You're not familiar enough with Greek to deal with bad handwriting. This is a really common word in Greek. Paul loves it.
Sorry.
Sarx. Sarx. That's how S would look, or sigma would look there. It's a word for flesh. Then we have another one, which at the beginning of this class you couldn't read, but I bet you can now. Logos, yes. And so that's what it would look like at the end. And so it's just something to keep track of. S will like to do that to you, or sigma will. And then the best part is if you look at the super ancient Greek manuscripts, sigma is just a half moon. Yeah, they really just like to make it as hard as possible.
Wow.
The amount of textual variance involving capital sigma and capital omicron, because it's just like literally half omicron. Oh yeah, very, very many such cases. Okay, so sigma makes sense to folks. Okay. Now, tau. Tau is a freebie. Tau is so, it's like kappa. It's just, you're like, what could it be? And it's exactly what it looks like. It's T.
Could you like, so what, how do you spell it?
Okay.
Tau. And I guess if I have to give you an example, it would be like, let me see what Plummer gives. That way I'm not totally just throwing you. T is in tap. There we go. That's what he says. Tap. Like the thing you get water out of. Tau is pretty straightforward. Let's spell tau in Greek. There you go. That's what it looks like. You haven't learned about diphthongs yet, which you'll have to learn in the lecture videos because we'll be here all day if I cover that. And that's what I'm saying, like, you would meet 4 times a week in Greek on campus in the morning for an hour. So that's why we're doing lecture videos. So you can crank it out on your own. But tau can do a couple other things. Let's say, or not a couple other things, let's just do a couple other examples. Should be easy. Common name.
Ted.
Ted. Yep.
And it even kind of looks like it.
Yeah, it does. This
Thanks for
one's
letting me get a couple there.
All right, Jonah, I'm gonna make you do this one.
Get.
You've been quiet back. Get. Okay. Good, good. Let's see.
To be fair, he's the only one who can see while you're writing it. He has a 5 to 6 second jump start on us.
That's what it is. It can't just be that Derek's
I
good at
can't
this
see
and
it until
likes
he
it.
already answered that.
All right, this is an actual Greek word. Most of you might even know this.
Tell us.
Telos. That's right. That's right. It means
See,
end.
if I can
goal.
see it too.
We're sitting over there next time.
No, he is doing good though.
All right.
Why can't you be left-handed, JP?
Why can't I be? I write with the right hand.
Yeah. Tame.
Tame, correct. Yep. Don't be discouraged. My A's look like garbage. They're much easier to see in the textbook. So if you're like, I don't know what that is, your life will get easier. Okay, so I think we got tau. I think we got tau down pretty well.
Yeah.
So let's talk upsilon.
Can you spell what it
Like how upsilon's spelled?
how it's spelled every time?
I sure can.
I agree. It's like David's son, but not.
Upsilon. Upsilon. And it makes a long oo sound. So actually, and upsilon is just written like that. So in English, we would write a U like that, but no lines, just bold. Only bold, no line.
So as in like Buddha?
Or boot, that was the example I was going to use.
Yeah, we don't say that word in this room. I'm just kidding.
So basically a double O sound, as in boot. Things that I need to buy for my poor wife, because she had to walk through all that snow in Converse. So it's the oo as in boot. So we could, this one will be tricky.
But this one or
Coot, yeah, something you might call an old man, an old coot. There you go.
I don't know. I guess that's it.
Things that I like.
Loot.
Things I get for Christmas. Lots of loot. Let's see. What are some other things we can do with that?
So are there 26 letters in this alphabet too?
Oh, don't ask me to recite or give you the number from memory. I don't know, John. I think it's 24, but
We'll have to
There's
count
20
at the
right
end.
now.
yeah, I think it's 24.
Okay.
So we're at 20. So I mean,
And actually a common, let's see, what's a word that, I'm getting into diphthongs, so I'm not careful here.
oh wait, they're all in pairs of 4.
Yeah, so if it's divisible by 4, it might be 24, yeah.
Yeah.
6 sets.
All right, what about this one? All right, anybody who's not named Eric.
Zoo.
Zoo, great place to go. Okay,
So that would be the closest to zoo, like where animals are gathered.
yep, that'd be the pronunciation. Let's say, how about,
Dude zoo.
that looks too much like every other letter. Okay, I'm gonna fix that.
This is gonna be fun during evangelism when we can just like spit that out.
All right, here's a
All this
nonsense word,
stuff.
folks. Actually, I'll even write one for Charles too. Charles will appreciate this.
Is that Gouda?
This is for Charles and for Jonah. This should be pretty easy right here. So this one and this one.
So that one's like
Gouda.
Gouda.
So this is Goudame. Ashley got that right. And what's this one?
Gudum.
Grudem. Yeah, plain Grudem.
Nice.
Okay. Oopsilon making sense to folks. And don't worry, there will be some more pronunciation rules in the book, like vowels can combine together to create a new sound. We're not going to talk about that now because it's cold and I want to wrap this up. Last set. Okay. Rho, sigma, tau, oopsilon.
Okay, so it is 24.
Yeah.
Phi, chi, psi, omega. So more of the moon runes on this one. So alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, iota, kappa, lambda, mu, nu, psi, omicron, pi, rho, sigma, tau, upsilon, phi, chi, psi, omega. Drill that into your brain. I expect you, when you watch Plumber's Lectures, to sing this song to yourself.
I'll do it while you're at work.
Yeah, trust me that in my soul, I will know if you didn't do it. You'll sit down in front of the quiz and you'll be like, I can't remember, I should have sang the song, but I didn't do it. And I will have no pity for you. Like the Old Testament says, your eye shall not pity, your hand shall not spare them. The F will be coming for you. Okay, so phi. Phi is mercifully easy to draw. Circle with line.
Yeah.
Circle with line. And it is roughly correspondent. Dun, da, da, da.
There's in PH.
Fine, like that fine.
Correct. It is correspondent to a PH sound, or I suppose an F sound, if you will. And we can say it's the PH like in phone. It makes a F sound. So we could say things that you gotta go sometimes. Let's see.
Pout.
No, that's a,
Oh,
that's a
oh yeah. Yeah, all these O's are tripping me up. I'm about to spend the night looking at it. Thou?
And this is a, I
Yeah.
just realized my bad handwriting is not helping you guys.
No.
Pardon me.
That one there is the one I couldn't figure out.
Yep. There we go.
Oh, that's an F.
Oh,
Fast?
Fast, that's right.
Gotta go fast.
Fast.
Gotta go
I
fast.
was like, what is Faust?
Let's see.
which one am I looking at? Oh, okay.
How about this?
F-A-S-T.
Here's an English word.
Fat?
No.
Fate.
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 Dude, Zarek is just like, he's like, this is easy. He's already downloaded the whole alphabet into his brain.
Yeah, he did.
All right, so does phi make sense, or should I give you a couple more examples? I'll give you a couple more.
Felt.
Felt, correct. Yep, so we got so yeah, actually it's monosyllabic, actually, drawing a syllable there. Syllable line is fake news. Felt. So remember, epsilon makes the S sound like in pet, it's a short E. Phi makes a PH sound. Lambda is an L sound, and then tau is mercifully just a letter T. So, and it looks exactly the same. So, felt. Yep, and I would encourage you too, when you study on your own, just write nonsense words in Greek. It'll help you. So there you go. I think, do we want one more example on phi before I go on? So you tell these other letters are kind of the sillier looking ones, so hard to keep up with. So, all right, the next one is chi. Chi.
I've seen that one before. Like I think that's like a fraternity letter. or
Yep, you'll
something
see it
like
all
that.
the time. Yeah, they use Greek letters. Chi. So chi.
Is it CHI?
Yes. Yep, correct. Sorry, Zarek, I need to write that for you. Chi, and then phi was this. So chi. And it roughly corresponds to a CH sound, as in ache. So it's kind of a k sound. So more like a chi.
So not like a ch. but
Yeah, like a k.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and it probably was some kind of guttural back in the day. Some vestigial remnants of that. So it would be like the ache. So let's see. Give you one that you should. This is actually a Greek word here. Who can give me that?
Kronos.
Close.
Chrono.
Chrono.
accept just a kra. You don't have to do that chronos. I won't make you do that.
Chronos. So
This ain't Hebrew class. This was Hebrew class. I'd be like, give me phlegm or get out of my class. Het. There's a letter for you in Hebrew. All right, so chronos. Yep. And guess what we get from that in English?
Time.
Chronology.
Mm.
Yep. It is indeed the word for time. Chronos. Yep. So, all right. How about this? Made up word this time. And that's a delta at the beginning here. Bad handwriting.
Trek?
Yeah, absolutely right. Yep, Drek. And this is obviously as you can see, some of my letters kind of messy. Plumber's not here to fuss at me. Claim, yep, correct. All right, is Kai making sense to everybody? All right, we are nearing in to the end, the final frontier. Psi, and you just draw a bowl and a line through it like that. So you notice phi is the circle. Phi and psi can trip people up. So just try and remember, because they both kind of start with a P sound. Phi obviously makes a sound, but psi, this is psi. This is phi. Okay, so what sound does psi make? Let me give you a real example of one that you are familiar with. It makes a PS sound, by the way. Psalm, that's right. Nailed it.
I might just be a nerd, but it kind of looks like the dark side of Star Wars. Like it's
And it makes
Yeah, all of
PS.
this looks like you'd find it on the Halo planet when you get there.
So there'd be your PS sound. Think of like the ps and oops. That's the kind of sound you're thinking of. Ps. So psalm, actually like psalmos is technically the correct Greek word here, psalmos. But let's see what
The book of the Bible, is it Psalms or Psalm?
It's Psalms
With an S?
with an S. You want to be real nerd? It's Tehillim in Hebrew.
Is Revelation or Revelations?
Revelation is revelation. Actually, it's apocalypsis, Jesu Christu.
Huh.
The revelation of Jesus Christ.
So it's just
The revelation.
singular.
The revelation. So let's bring back something you haven't seen for a minute. This is a Yoda, by the way. It's just badly written.
Ciel?
This is a psi.
Sion?
It's the elves.
We got two syllables. We got two Yodas, right? So
Seed?
seed,
Seedsland.
seedzin, seedzin. Yeah. Thankfully, the Greeks were not this. No one can pronounce words like this. So don't worry. There's nothing like that in Greek. But or you could say it's psidzin or psidzin, depending on how feisty you want to be. But there you go. There's psi. Let me see if there's another one.
So if it's at the beginning of a word, it makes the S sound, but if it was like elsewhere in the word, it'd be like the PS, like an oops.
It'll always be a PS. So it'll always be ps. So if somebody said sidzin, then I
So
gave
we
credit.
wouldn't do psalm, it would be like psalm.
Psalm, yeah.
Okay.
Psalm. Yeah, you're probably going to have to fight the powerful urge to just say psalm.
English, yeah, okay.
But it is psalm.
Okay.
Because psalo is the word, I think, for I sing, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's a phi. Look at me go. All right, here we go. Here's a real wild looking. I think I heard it. Sufe? Not Thay. Remember, theta,
Souffle.
phi. There we go. Sufe. Yep. Let me give you a real word, actually. This is a real word from the Greek New Testament.
Suke.
Okay.
Suke. Yeah,
Suke.
suke. Suke. It's the word for soul.
Suke.
Suke. All right. Now on to the last letter, and then we're done for the day. I appreciate your patience too, guys. This is going to be typically just an hour. We'll mostly do a review together. But the alphabet is so important. We have to get it right. So,
Hold on, real quick question.
Yo.
Because I know you're about to say the Omega.
Yep.
So in Isaiah, he says he's the Alpha and the Omega.
Revelation.
Oh, he doesn't say that in Isaiah 2? He says the first and last or something. Okay.
Yeah.
So that would make sense. I was like, how did they know that if it wasn't? Okay.
All right. So Omega.
Same idea though.
Omega, you kind of draw almost like a little W. But it's kind of like a little smaller. That's a good one. Almost like a butt.
Oh,
Um,
awful.
That's what it looks like.
You're the only one that noticed that. I'm just gonna be honest.
I've done a lot of Omegas. And the sound it makes is a long O. It makes the long O sound. So Omicron makes the ah sound, and Omega is like the O in obey. So Omega is a long O, which now means we know all of our vowels too. We have
Like
Alpha.
Oh my God, okay.
we have epsilon, we have eta, we have iota, we have omicron, we have upsilon, we have omega. So we've got all of our vowels now. So that's just something to bring out as well. And so omega makes the O as in obey. So let's give you an example. Actually, we don't need the epsilon at the end. It's not
Lone.
lone. Yeah, lone.
Phone.
Phone. Now, what if we do this?
Phony.
Phone.
Phone.
Yes. It's the word for sound. Greek. Gave you a real one. Or how's about Phos? Correct. Absolutely right. Phos. Or how's about? Oh, here's a real. Little inside baseball here.
Omega.
Omega, yeah, yep, there you go. So now, congratulations, you have at least a rudimentary understanding of the Greek alphabet. You will need to watch the, this is the longest lecture video he has, by the way, it's about 30 minutes. Watch it, take thorough notes, go through the textbook, there's lots of information in there, but you are at a huge advantage for going through the Greek alphabet on that front. So, we are done. I am willing to take some questions, if y'all have any.
So what chapters do we gotta, what stuff do we gotta do?
Oh, that's a great point. Derek, you are going to read chapter 1 this week. So you will read and complete chapter 1. You will watch the chapter 1 lecture video. I have sent it out via email. I'll send it all out again today. I strongly suggest if you do not have Discord, get Discord, set up an account, join the server. There'll be lots of information there. I will try to send things out via email. I'll have this video uploaded to YouTube, but my email also contains a link to my YouTube channel, which will be very beneficial if you want to watch the videos. So you will read this week chapter 1 of both books. You will watch the first lecture, and you will do the chapter 1 homework. I think the homework is really, really easy. Not like the rest of the ones. There'll be a lot of other information here you're going to want to pay attention to. But practice, you'll be doing things like circling words that have diphthongs. You'll be like writing out the alphabet. You'll be identifying you might even read some Greek out loud to yourself. Actually, back here at the very last homework assignment in here, you will read a section, one that you might be familiar with, John 3:16 through 18.
Fun.
Yeah, hutoskar agapesin ha theostan kosmon, things like that. You'll see all sorts of things in there. You'll be able to read those. You won't be able to understand it, not yet, but you will be able to sound it out. So Greek starts, and there's a bunch of vocabulary in here too, about, I think, looks like 10 words or so. And so Anki will have some of that. But you will need to memorize all the vocabulary, you'll need to memorize the whole alphabet, and you will need to know basically everything in this chapter. You need to understand it's going to go over Greek punctuation. It's going to go over different way, like diphthongs or vowels. It's going to go over breathing marks, accent marks, things that you need to know. But it will be a whole lot easier because now you can make Greek sounds. So we're done.
Sweet.
We are done.
JP, you need me, I didn't sign up for anything. so-
Yeah, I